of success. We're going to look at setting personal goals. We are going to look at leading a balanced life, time management, developing a professional image, your professional image and business, resources to assist with professional image. And we are going to also then look at building your strengths and weaknesses, managing your weaknesses. We're looking at the concept of self-knowledge, the concept of self-confidence, stress management, and adaptability. And so without further ado, let us commence. And so, Ms. Therese, would you like to tell us about success?
Yes. But before I do that, I just need to say that what I like about, I just need to contextualize where self-management goes into the syllabus. It is your business roles. You remember we do business environments, and then we do business ventures, and then we do business roles, and our last one is business operations. So your business role is all about you. You as the individual, you as the entrepreneur, you as the business person. So this topic for me is essential. So let's go to the board. It says success. Success is defined as knowing what is important to you and working to achieve those goals. And grade 10s, this is also for you in your personal capacity. You should have goals now. You're starting with the exam, so you should be focusing on that.
And so when you focus on your goals, you're going to focus on setting goals.
That's absolutely correct.
And in order to set goals, we set them because we want to achieve balance in our life, and we want to achieve direction, and also propel ourselves into the future and just know where we are going. And so when we do set these goals, we want to ensure that it's our own goals and that they're reachable so that we can reassess them on a regular basis. And then learners, just to alert you to the fact that you can SMS us with questions. The number is 31498. So you can SMS us and we will try to answer the questions if you are tuned in. And so, Ms. Judith, let's move on to the next slide. And so, the process of setting goals. Would you like to take us through that?
Okay, your process of setting goal is step 1. You need to determine the roles in your life. And by roles in your life here we mean you have a role as a student, you are a daughter, you are a member of a soccer team, you probably attend youth, you're a youth member. So these are the roles in your life. So now step number 1 is to determine each one of these roles. Step number 2, consider what is your values and what is important to you. For example, a value can be honesty, integrity, family spirit. These are what you consider to be important. And then step 3 is set a goal for each role that you have in your life. And the following slide gives you an example of that.
So let's just move on to the following slide.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, I chose the role of being a daughter. And remember, there's many other roles. It's the role of being a student, as I said before. But in the role of being a daughter, and step 2 is my values. What is important to me? And being important for me is probably being part of the family, your family spirit. So how am I going to be a good daughter and live out this value? Will be step number 3. Step number 3 means I need to spend quality time with my parents. I need to put off my phone and get off social media and interact with them. When my mom comes out of work, you say, would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah, and also maybe at supper time, all of you could mutually agree that you could put your phones off just for the period of supper time so that you could connect as a family.
Absolutely.
And just check in with each other at the end of a very busy day before you regroup and move into the next period.
Yeah, I actually like this practical illustration for the first 3 steps.
Let's move on to step 4.
Step 4 is your goals must be easy to achieve. We can't make goals that is absolutely difficult. If you are not a mathematics prophet, please don't say, I want to get 90% for maths. You know, you need to keep it realistic in what you are able to achieve.
And then also, just going back to our previous example, achieving everyone in the family sitting down at family time without their phones, it is a goal that one can achieve.
Absolutely.
It's not unachievable. And so step 5 would mean you'd have to draw up a plan, and in this case, the family would have to then draw up this plan together and decide where they would like to go in terms of spending more time with each other.
And maybe perhaps just set in a supper time as well that's convenient for everybody.
And also not always just doing supper at home. They could be doing supper elsewhere, meeting up elsewhere, but also then just spending the time together. So when we look at step 6, we need to be committed to the plan. And so in a family situation, it's very easy because it requires everybody to buy into it. But in business, it's not so easy always to be committed to your plan, because sometimes you need to reassess and then make changes very quickly.
And life happens.
Life happens. And so moving on to step 7, you would then be required to reassess your plan.
And then step 8, I love this one of step 8, the 3 Ps. You need to be passionate about something. Passionate means you need to feel excited about something.
Yeah.
So if it is being a good daughter, you need to ask yourself, how can I do this and how do you embrace this on a day-to-day? And it doesn't have to be big things. It's like when your dad comes from home and you bring the slippers because he's tired. The second P is perseverance. Persevere means you carry on. No matter what setbacks there is, you don't get tired. And the third one just links up so nicely, you push.
Yeah.
For me, I think this is such a good, if you don't take anything out of today's telematics, keep to the 3 Ps. Be passionate about what you're doing. Persevere, carry on and push, just push through.
And just to link up with what Ms. Judy is saying, we are in the 4th term. Learners, you are heading towards exams very soon. So you are going to be needing to start setting up your study timetables. And when you set up your study timetables, you need to set your goals about what you'd like to achieve in business studies. And I would hope that you would incorporate step number 8 with the 3 Ps, the passion, your perseverance, and push yourself so that you can get the best possible mark that is possible in business studies. So let's now move on to step 9.
Step 9 says enjoy the journey towards meeting your goals. And then step 10, oh, I like this one. Congratulate and reward yourself when you achieved your goal. I said to my children at school, while you're busy now with your study timetable, if you have worked out an essay, if you allotted yourself an hour, you worked out your essay, you mark your essay according to Flazo and see how well you've done, then you take a break. Then you go on social media for your 15, 20 minutes because then you reward yourself.
Yeah. And stick to the time that you've allocated to reward yourself. So if you say, I'm only going to do this for 10 or 15 minutes, stick to your 10 or 15 minutes and spend the rest of the time studying. And so let's look at time management, because this ties in very nicely now with this goal setting and sticking to our reward system.
Absolutely.
So the concept of time management is where you have the ability to manage your time effectively so that you use the number of hours that is available in a day to work towards the goals that you feel are the most important. So we don't want a situation where you say that you're going to study for an hour, but you spend 15 minutes on social media and 10 minutes with your essay.
No, I agree. And it's all about, this time of the year, grade 10s, you have to prioritize. It's only a month more of school and your exams, and then we go on holiday. So you just need to persevere and hang in there and push.
And so linking up with time management is also the concept of leading a balanced life, Ms. Juries. And sometimes There's a saying that goes, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. But unfortunately, grade 10s, you need to put in quite a bit of effort and studying time into your studies for your grade 10 exam, since there's quite a bit of content that needs to be covered. And sometimes leading a balanced life means that you need to balance your study time with your relaxation time. And that simply means that you shouldn't be so engrossed by the roles that you neglect other important roles. For example, don't get too involved in your studies and then say to your mom on a Sunday morning, I actually don't have time to go to church today because I want to study. Or the other alternative is study and then decide that you've spent enough time studying Monday to Friday, and that Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday is actually time to take off and not do any work. So you need to find the perfect balance, something that they have to work out step by step, and your teacher and parents can definitely guide you.
No, absolutely. Life is about balancing, getting that balance and getting that balance correct. Even that whole balance between sports and culture and studying time.
Yes. So that the one doesn't take over the other one's space and time. And so, let's look at the
basic principles of management.
Let's look at the basic principles of management. And so the first thing is you have to be organized. And how are we organized? We set goals that are small and measurable, and we allocate definite time frames to these goals. Ms. Juries, let's talk about planning.
We need to plan effectively. Proper planning prevents poor performance. When you start with your study timetable, you also need to say to yourself, my business content is divided into 4 topics. It's environments, it's ventures, it's role, it's operations. Today I'm going to be studying roles. I'm going to be doing self-management, and I want to do team performance. And then you need to say to yourself, I'm going to allocate myself an hour to work on the essay on self-management. But for me, in order to do that, I need my notes, I need my textbook, I need whatever resources I need to make this possible. Yes, I can even go on the WCDE portal and get this on YouTube, the video, and do whatever you need that is going to help you to be able to revise the topic that you're doing.
And also ask teacher for extra question papers, past question papers that have been written, so that you practice more. And that forms part of your planning, because once you've gone through the content, you will then practice what you have studied. Then, thirdly, you need to prioritize. And when we prioritize, we do the most important thing first and those that are less important at a later stage.
Yes. Our things that we will do at a later stage now is like during this next month, it's probably going to be social media is one of those priorities that need to step down.
Yeah, and also socializing, going out with friends will take a little bit of a back seat, and you would shift spending more time with your books, interacting more with past question papers, maybe forming study groups and meeting up with small groups of friends and interacting with the content, and self-management could be one. And working in a group or working in the group, your study group, you could hold one another accountable in terms of time management.
Absolutely.
And so it is important not to procrastinate. Because when you start to put things off, when you put off doing a task, when you have to have that task done, or when you have to meet a deadline, it can put you under such a lot of pressure, and unnecessarily so as well.
Oh, we all know that I'm going to start studying tomorrow, Mommy. Not today, tomorrow. I'm going to start on Monday. I can't do it over the weekend.
And before you know it, your time has run out and you have to spend the whole night studying. And by the time you enter the exam room, you may not be remembering what you need to remember.
You're exhausted.
Then, delegate. Now, this is quite an interesting task actually.
Yeah, especially in the business context. Sometimes, especially people in management, need to realize you can't do everything yourself. Sometimes you need to delegate, ask another competent person to do a particular task for you.
Yes.
But the key here is to delegate to a competent person, someone you know that's going to get the work done.
Correct. And so once you've got everything done, we need to look at the concept of projecting a professional image. Because when you assert yourself or present yourself in a specific way, the impression that is formed is one that allows people to have confidence in you to delegate special tasks to you. And so when you project your professional image, in other words, the way you carry yourself, you are wanting to do it in a positive manner so that people have that confidence in you.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, it starts with at school, with our learners, looking good when they come to school. Neat, shirt tucked in, neat hairstyle.
Dressed in the school uniform.
Not having on a hoodie, not having on a beanie. And it's also, this carries over into your books and the way you do your assignments, your presentations. It's everything has got to do with the way you carry yourself.
And it also then highlights the different ways in which people see you. They see you as capable. So if your book is always neat and organized, you always know where to find your work. When you walk into class, you have your textbook and your notebook and all your other resources. People know that you are trustworthy. They know that they can always ask you and that you will have all the information on hand. They also know that you are committed, and those are the very, very important values as well.
And it's values that you carry with you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
You take it from your school life into your, when you become a student and you go to tertiary institutions, and you take it to your place of employment.
And these are also the values that set your work ethic in the long run. And learners, just remember that the way in which you start to carry yourself from as early as grade 10 is the way in which people start to see you. So when you move from grade 10 to grade 11, if you show yourself as a diligent and committed and caring person, that is the way the next teacher will see you, because that's the way you would have projected your image.
And immediately in grade 11, when we think of leadership, we think of prefects, your name comes to mind.
Yeah.
Your deportment is just the way you carry yourself.
And those are all important factors that all go hand in hand with time management, self-management, and then, of course, with projecting your professional image. And it's important to ask yourself the question, how do I want others to see me? And then carry yourself in that particular way.
Yes, you would want people to see you as honest, person of integrity, someone that is self-confident, someone that is reliable, someone that is committed to what, if they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it in the end. And that is how you want people to see. And I think it's such amazing that in a subject like business studies that we dedicate a part of our content to something like this.
I think it's very valuable because it gives learners the opportunity to be proactive about deciding how they would like to project themselves to the world, and that helps them in their future endeavors. How you manage yourself and how you manage your image, how you speak to somebody when you walk into an office, for example. Your basic manners and basic etiquette of saying good morning, ma'am, thank you for the lesson, ma'am. Those are all things that leave an impression on people and that also allow people to form an image of you. And having said that, forming an image, people form a positive or a negative image. And it's possible that the image that you are projecting, unknown to you, may not be a positive image. So what people see and what you think you're projecting could be two different things as well.
Yeah, that too.
So let's look at what a good image for clients could mean.
I mean, if you have a good image with your clients, you must remember more clients translating to more sales. More sales means more profit for the business. And who knows, more profit for the business means an increase in salary as well.
That's a very good point, and we can always do with an increase in salary.
Oh, can't we?
And so when we look at areas to improve our image, now in a business, there are many telephones that need to be answered. And so in this case, you'd always strive to answer the phone in a courteous but professional manner, and not just run of the mill where it's just a job, so you're just going to answer it quickly and haphazardly. Tone is very important, so it's important to carry across a very sincere tone as well. And then another way to improve your image is to write. And by writing neatly and legibly, that is definitely a positive and a plus. Also, when you are writing, ensure that you use the company logo on all of the stationery so that when you communicate with possible clients, they can see who you are, where you are from, and they will then start making associations with the business in the future.
And for those of you that don't write beautifully as I do, I thank the Lord that we live in a digital age. We can type up that information. Just make sure of your grammar that is edited.
That is important because those are also things that people use to form images.
And to make a perception of you, because you need to take the time out to make sure that that is right.
Everything is correct, yes. And so now let's look at advertisements. When we are thinking about improving our image, we need to ensure that any advertisement for our business is professional and appropriate. We wouldn't want anything inappropriate because, again, it would be associated with our business, and we are striving to improve our image at this stage.
I always think the banks have such good adverts. How can we help? How can we assist? Simpler, better, faster.
Everything linked to the digital age, but also linked to that of service. So when we look at the slide about service, be friendly.
Oh yes, whenever you're going to the shop, you expect the assistant, the consultant to be friendly. Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you?
And
Is
again,
there anything you're looking for specifically?
and again, your tone of voice is important because that tells if you really are friendly. And then dress for success. The way in which we dress is very important. And so it's also important to look the part.
Oh, absolutely. You need to, I always say to my children when we do the section of the work, if you're flying, and I mean any airline, those air hostesses are so well groomed.
Mm-hmm.
In their personal capacity, they may feel that they want to wear 2 or 3 earrings, but to work you will wear one. Your makeup is beautifully done, your hair is neat, it's tidy, because that's the image that you're projecting of the company. And not only of the company, even of the country.
Correct. And so when we look at this in terms of improving our image, businesses should also look at their websites.
Oh, yes.
Some websites are very difficult to navigate on. So we are wanting to ensure that the website is attractive and easy to use. Also just easy to navigate through and to find the information, the correct information that you would be looking for. And so, Ms. Juris, resources that assist us with a positive or a new image.
You know, it's like anything else. If you focus or you set a goal here that you need to work on your image, you ask yourself, you need to do research. There are so many books available. There's the magazine, there's the internet. There's even image consultants out there that will help you with your wardrobe and that. Take our grade 10s. Our grade 10s may be interested in going for a holiday job. But you are not going to get a holiday job if you go to Woolworths and they look at you and you don't present a very good image. You need to try to be I don't say go there with a two-piece suit, but I'm saying at least look neat. Look,
Don't go with the torn jeans and a t-shirt.
there you
If
go,
you
ma'am.
are wanting to serve clients, put on a shirt possibly, and maybe put on a pants that you'd wear to church.
And your tone of voice when you're talking to the people, it's formal. You try to be a bit more formal than what you would be when you are with your friends.
And in that way, you would project a very positive image, and you'd also project your values. You'd be displaying the values of caring and commitment, and that you are trustworthy. And so automatically, whoever is interacting with you will then form a positive image.
And I think it's so good for the children, we come from an age where they watch a lot of movies or soapies. Look at the person in one of these soapies that you admire, and you project your way of dressing as they would dress. If you're a person that watch Generations of Movango, you see how people dress in the office setting, and then you project your image based on theirs. And this is what will guide us.
And that is absolutely very good advice. And so now let's look at the power of recognizing our strengths and weaknesses. It's always important to know what you are good at and what you are not good at, because we can't all be good at everything.
Absolutely.
And I think what's important is to know what you're good at and build on that, and also know what you're not so good at. Because when you know what you're not so good at, that's where you know how to improve, or what area of your life to look at for improvement. And so it's only when you recognize your strengths and weaknesses that you will be able to manage them, and you will know where to work.
Yeah, I mean, if we look in our personal capacity, a weakness often could be procrastination.
Yes.
We as teachers are exactly the same like you as learners. When we have piles and piles of marking to do, you also don't immediately want to start marking. You say, let's have a cup of coffee and then I'm going to
Or
start.
let's get organized. Let's just organize this workspace first, and then I will know, and I'll have space and I can just carry on.
Yes, so we also need to know we have deadlines and we need to manage our time. So we also need to know, if you know what your weakness is and you can work on it, and you need to say to yourself, I just need to get started, because once you start it just flows.
Yes. And determining your strengths and weaknesses, you will need to ask yourself certain questions. And the first question that you need to ask is, what do I do well? And I'm sure that all of you have at least 3 things that you do exceptionally well. And then the next question you're going to need to ask is, what are my talents and interests? And usually, because you are interested in something specific, you will do it very well. It's when you are not interested in something that you're not actually going to do it as well as you would want to do it. The third question you need to ask yourself is, what patterns of success, strength or skill can I see in my life so far? And what do I struggle with? And that would be a question that you would use to really do a little bit of introspection to see where your weaknesses really are.
Or maybe your report can guide you. It's normally mathematics.
Or life sciences for that matter. Then, when do I feel most uncomfortable and stressed? And usually that happens when you have to deliver the report card to mom and dad and you haven't quite put in all the hours that you should have put in.
Oh, I think especially now with the upcoming exams, I say to my children, the thing that makes you feel most uncomfortable is coming late to school on an exam day. On an exam day, make that effort, to leave home a half an hour earlier. So when you come into the exam room, you are calm and you're centered.
Yes.
You cannot come into the exam room 5 minutes before the time looking for your pencil bag. I don't have a calculator. You need to be sitting there, calm, ready.
And so maybe they have to
Focus.
leave an hour before the time if they rely on public transport, just so that they are absolutely sure that they will be at school in time to be calm and collected leading up to an examination. The other matter that could leave you feeling uncomfortable and stressed is when you haven't quite put in enough work leading up to the exam, and you know that you haven't put in enough work and you've run out of time. So when you are looking at what do I struggle with, if time management is one of those issues, then it is always good to try and work through what your time management issues are. For example, when I'm writing a question paper, if I read through the questions and I'm not able to make connections in terms of answers immediately, but then I leave out the questions that carry the most marks. So in a case like that, work through the question paper, work through the questions with the fewest marks quickly, and keep moving so that you can answer as many questions as you possibly can in the exam until you find a comfortable rhythm to continue with.
Yeah, and I find with my grade 10s, it's the first year that they're focusing on writing essays. We must not be scared or fear essays. Essays is the same content that can be asked in Section A or Section B. And it could, as in Section B, where we have case studies and we have smaller components, an essay could just be small questions linked together under one theme. So once we get familiarize ourselves with how do we answer that essay that we will try to do later with them, it becomes easier every time you practice.
Absolutely.
So then when you walk into the exam room, you say to yourself, I'm starting with my 2 essays first. And once you finish your essays, it's like, I'm managing this. Section A and Section B is just going to flow.
And you see that forms part, grade 10s, it forms part of knowing what your weaknesses are and managing it. And it also then forms part of knowing yourself. And when you know yourself and you know where your weaknesses are, you know where to start building in terms of the strengths that you do have. And so you can then focus on the things that you do well, developing the skills that you need to develop until you have done it so nicely that, it becomes second nature. Spending time and effort pushing yourself as far as you can, and then displaying the talent that you have. And this talent then becomes your strength. And this is the one thing that should make you stand out then from others.
I think you covered that so beautifully.
And so, Ms. Juries, would you like to look at managing your weaknesses?
Your weaknesses you need to manage in 2 ways. Ask yourself, break your weakness into 2 categories. Those you can change and those you can't change. I can't change the time the exam will start. I can't change the date the exam will start. But I can change how I'm going to prepare for that exams. And go about it. We spoke about it earlier. You will have a timetable. Prioritize what you need to know first. And those things that you find a little bit difficult, work on that as well. So the more you practice it, the easier it will become.
And so that is very good advice, Ms. Juries, because it just simply consolidates again that it's important to know yourself, understand how you function, how you work, understand yourself, and know what really motivates you. So, self-knowledge can assist you to succeed in business because
we're all unique individuals. And each person inside the company or even in your class, they bring their own talents, skills, interests, and they bring their own personality. And if anyone wants to be successful, she must know his or her strengths and weaknesses. A person must also be aware of your likes, your dislikes, your dreams, your hope. And self-knowledge is a powerful tool on the path to self-development and success. I think I need to say that again. Self-knowledge is a powerful tool on the path to self-development and success. Remember, we started out today's broadcast by talking about being successful. So your self-knowledge is on that path where you self-development. We spoke about having personal goals. All that is
Managing your time.
managing your time, balanced lifestyle.
Projecting a positive business image or
And-
a positive self-image.
Yeah, and I think we all on a journey of self-development. It should never end.
And it also then enhances self-confidence, because self-confidence is the way you trust your own ability and instinct. And when you know something, when you are confident about knowing all of your work leading up to an exam or a test, you carry yourself in that way. You project yourself in a positive way. And people take note then. People, very often you'll hear teachers discuss learners as they walk past, and they'll say, my, that learner has grown so much since the start of this year.
No, we do that all the time. Guilty as charged. And especially now that it's prize giving season. It is the most amazing thing as a teacher to see a child grow and to see that development. It's just such a wow moment for me.
It is indeed, and it also then allows people to have that positive but realistic view of themselves. Because when teachers or colleagues or other people compliment you, when you are confident and you are displaying the confidence, it just gives you a little bit of
A boost.
it gives you a little bit of a boost, yes. But it also helps people to recognize their potential, and they can then work towards realizing their full potential. Because sometimes finding your self-confidence is just that first step to really realizing your potential. It also then makes you willing to take risks, something that you would never have done before. Some learners would never consider running for head of the portfolio leadership network when they start out in grade 8. Or they'd never consider being part of the student council, the student representative council. But as the years go by and as they find their confidence and as they start to manage their time and they start to project their self-image, this is the way in which they find themselves and they realize their potential.
I actually have a very interesting thing to say about this. After my children my grade 10s did their presentations, the media presentations, and they put such a lot of effort into that. So many of them went on to do the public speaking competition that we had at school. And it was just so interesting to see, that their confidence was built up so by doing this particular project. And it was not easy for them because they did it in class to stand up in front of the peers and speak. It was just naturally now for them to stand up in front of the school and speak.
And that then gave them the ability to take a bigger risk, which was then to participate in the competition. And in that way, they also then feel less concerned about what other people think of them. They're more concerned about how they can benefit from it.
Yeah, and they also know who they are.
Yes. And then we can encourage people to remain positive and accept themselves, even when you have that one little moment where you let yourself down, just that one moment. And it could be something small. You could be walking down the stairs of the stage and you could just fumble quickly. But it's about your confidence and how you carry yourself to just keep walking.
You just smile, man, and you walk.
Smile and keep walking. And so let's look at ways to increase your self-confidence.
Okay, you focus on your strengths. We said that often enough today, rather than your weakness. You do not go into an interview, for example, and expose all your weaknesses. You tell them about what you're good at. Approach new experiences as opportunities. And do not expect yourself to be perfect. Sometimes I think we judge ourselves too harshly. You need to say to yourself, I am doing the best that I possibly can do. And that is good enough.
And tying in with that is perfect, because that now takes us on to stress management. Would you like to give us some pearls of wisdom here?
Oh my, stress is a physical, mental, emotional factor that cause bodily or mental tension. Look at our poor friend there on the
Oh
screen.
gosh, let me just go back to our
I
friend.
mean, look at our friend on the screen. You can see, it seems as if you want to pull out his hair. And we will see now what causes all the stress. Stress could be caused by, number one, a lack of planning. We've all been there where we feel a bit stressed out because we didn't start the project when we were supposed to, or we didn't start studying when we had to. There could also be personal conflict. When there's more than one person, then we don't always see eye to eye. So there could be conflict. There's also lack of finances. I don't even think every adult will know about this. Unemployment. Unemployment causes a lot of stress on a family. It causes a lot of stress on an individual.
And poor communication does that too.
Oh, yes.
You know, if I said to you, Miss Juries, wait for me at block A, and I actually meant block B, we could spend hours just trying to meet up with each other.
But therefore, we're adaptable. I would send you a WhatsApp, ma'am.
That is absolutely correct. And so let's just look at the concept of adaptability. It's when we have the ability to accept change and to adjust to new conditions successfully. And so, Ms. Juries, I want to skip a few slides quickly because I'd like us to look at possible ways that we can respond to questions that are posed on this particular topic of self-management. And so, would you like to take us through this one?
Okay. This is a Section A type of question. Section A possible definition would have come up. It could be a multiple choice question where you could be given a lot of options. It could be where you had to select the right answer out of a box. So, to be able to accept and adjust to new conditions, and the clue here is adjust, and so therefore it's adaptability.
Yes. Let's look at another one.
To be able to trust in your abilities, qualities, and judgment. I need to say I gave this to my grade 10s in the form of a quiz, these questions, and they're absolutely, for revisions, it was actually very good to do it like this.
And so, what would the answer be to this particular question?
To be able to trust in your abilities, qualities, and judgment, it will be self-confidence.
And there you have it, learners. Okay, let's see if you can answer this one. So, the ability to manage your time effectively would be the concept of
time management. And sometimes I fail to understand, when they give you the clue of time and management and somebody writes something else, sometimes it could just be that easy.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes people don't look for the correct clues. Yes. Okay. And so the next question is physical, mental, or emotional factors that causes bodily or mental tension.
It must be stress.
And there you go. Learners, the answer is stress indeed. Okay, so now let's look at the possible section C type question. Now, Ms. Juries, we are running out of time, so we don't have a lot of time. And so I'm going to read the scenario quickly, and you can just maybe sketch the process for writing the essay and the question. So, learners, there's a scenario there, and the scenario has about 10 lines. And it's all to do about self-image and how you perceive yourself. It is a number of self-impressions that have built up over time. What are your hopes and dreams? What do you think and feel? What have you done throughout your life, and what did you want to do? These self-images can be very positive, giving a person confidence in their thoughts and actions, or negative, making a person doubtful of their capabilities and ideas. So that was the scenario. The actual question would be the following. Refer to the statement above and write an essay in which you include the following aspects. Distinguish between a balanced life and time management. List 3 causes of stress. Explain 4 basic principles of management. And comment on adaptability as an essential skill to develop in a fast-paced and rapidly changing world. So what would you advise the learners to do?
Okay, I see. Remember, Flazo, your facts is 32 marks, and you need to remember to start with an introduction. And grade 10s, you need to write the word introduction. And please don't rewrite the question or rewrite the case study. Your introduction itself will be write down 2 short sentences. And since in this case our scenario dealt with self-knowledge, we could define self-knowledge here. And then you go to your body of your essay. And in your body, you need to remember there's 4 bullets that they ask you. Each bullet you write down. For each bullet, you need to write an answer for each one. And in this one, you were guided nicely. They asked you to distinguish between time management and a balanced lifestyle. So you tabulate your answer, you define what a balanced lifestyle is, you define what a time management is. The next one they asked you was to 3 causes of stress. You write only 3 causes of stress because they're only going to be marking 3 because they're asking for 3. And then you need to remember you need to incorporate into your essay your originality. So you always put a nice example down as well to explain something. So in this case, I quickly just want to say I spoke about poor communication. And so here's an example where your supervisor forgot to tell you timely that you need to work overtime, which caused conflict in the workplace because of poor communication. And then remember grade 10s, it is 2 examples that you need to write down to get your originality marks. And from there, you must not forget you need to have a conclusion. A conclusion is where we conclude the topic that we're doing. Your conclusion is not saying, I enjoy writing this essay. No, your conclusion will be something like, knowledge is important for you to be successful. It is part of knowing yourself. You need to know what stresses you. You need to have a balanced lifestyle, and that would be your conclusion.
That is correct. And so learners, you can follow us on Facebook. You can also you can follow us on Facebook under Telematics for Business Studies. As I said earlier, you can also link up with the WCDE portal. And you would then find all of the notes there, and you'd also find the video there. And so you could watch the session again. And so at this stage, learners, I would like to thank Ms. Juris. She did a marvelous job explaining these interesting concepts. I trust that you enjoyed our session this afternoon. I trust that you've learned lots. And I trust that you are going to just use your confidence. You're going to set goals. You are going to manage your time effectively. You are not going to get stressed like that little man on the one slide, because you are going to be planning properly. And so all the best with your final exam in November, and we are definitely rooting for you.
Mrs. Lewis, it's been my absolute pleasure to be here today. Grade 10, a final remark. Do well for your final exams, and we will see you when you're in grade 11 via our telematics broadcast.